roads, high skyrocketing of prices, health care problems, electricity problems, water problems, this all over the country. So this is what I expect the president to address. What are the remedies? What are the solutions that his government is coming up with to tackle these problems that the entire Gambians are facing? So we expect the president to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, as I said it before.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Thank you. We also have another National Assembly member who will be talking to us on this special occasion. And as you've heard, the concerns that he would want the president to address on this special occasion, State of the Nation address. Here we have the National Assembly member for Lower Nyomi, Honorable Tamsir Cham. Honorable, in this special occasion of State of the Nation address, the president will be addressing the National Assembly members, and you are one of them. What would you expect, based on the concerns of the public, the president to talk about?
Oh, thank you very much, and good morning, viewers. Mr. Choi, you are right. We are here at the National Assembly building today, here in Banjul. And then we are expecting the president to come here very soon. He will arrive very soon, and then he will be addressing the nation. And then what we are expecting, inshallah, he will be talking about the economy, the security, and then and partly agriculture, even, definitely. In general, he will be talking development, inshallah.
Yes. In what specifically about agriculture security are you talking about? Security is, is large. Agriculture also the same thing. What are the concerns in terms of those areas?
Yeah, you are right. Let's start with the security. That is the security of the nation. Peace and stability of the country is one of its concerns. And then when we talk about agriculture also, at this time it's rainy season, and then farmers are suffering. And we are expecting him to talk about how to help farmers in order to make sure that their agricultural products buy, and then definitely how to help them in general, definitely.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Aliu. We've heard from two National Assembly members who have shared their concerns about their expectations of what the president's speech should contain. And I thank you so much. I'll leave back to the studio there.
Thank you very much, Modlamin Choi. We are talking to Honorable National Assembly members Tamsir Cham and Yaya Sanyang. They are, sharing what they expect to hear from the president as he prepares to address the National Assembly in his 2022 State of the Nation address. Sidi Ansumana, let's now move to, earlier we talked about the Ministry of Trade. As we understand, there is no minister solely responsible for...
You don't need security. Ansumana have not come on.
Ansumana, you want to say something about security? Yes, because very soon the president, and we need to cover most of these areas. So you just have to summarize.
I think I pretty much share, views with Sidi. I mean, security sector reform, all of us will agree. I think even the president's, staunch supporters would admit to this to some extent, at least, that it is one of those sectors that really did not live up to expectation under his administration. I'm referring to the reforms that were set, that his administration set out to make within that sector. Truth is, the process since it was launched, we really haven't had, seen any changes really in that sector, in all honesty. And I think it's something they need to seriously look at, especially, going into his current mandate. That is one sector that seriously needs to be looked at.
Thank you very much, Ansumana. So, Nyasi viewers, you reminded that you're still watching QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we're broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. Another crew is also at the National Assembly in Banjul as we bring you live coverage of the 2022 State of the Nation address by the President of
Hello?
It's
Yes.
normal.
Yeah. All right. You bear with us. We having some issues here and there with the line, but we're trying to get Nena on a much clear line so you can hear what he's saying. Apparently, trying to describe the situation or the environment at the parliament. Apparently, as you can see there, the president is still being escorted by party militants and the security, making his way to the parliament for the much talked about and highly anticipated of the 2022 State of the Nation's address, which is a constitutional requirement, and it has been slated for today, the 15th of September, 2022. So we'll all be eagerly waiting what the president is going to deliver today in terms of the state of the country in different sectors and areas and policies and the progress made, the challenges and successes so far this year, and led by the Vice
science and dolbe do rem dol mi alon be music wol le play kan donc dolbe jele mi alon ko traditional music ni ada music ko dolbe jele mi alon ko le play kan science and abularo al be ko le la kamolu me kan be vindi kan science mustafa kam tada ko comment to mandin ron banko president of pare mal male kabo basic and secondary education agriculture male akla jamal male ala fanal man sa ala man sa kunda man kam fanal mil bedo bare jamaa ay min le mo covid-19 mi alon ko nyaaro mi alon ko wala ke banko ko
Talk about youths, young people. Let me say, Monday...
This is about this point you're making of Rwanda.
Exactly.
What if one puts in this argument that, okay, what if what I'm getting from Turkey is cheaper
than what
no,
is
but that's when the government comes in.
Yeah.
That's when the government come in and make things easier. You just don't allow Ansumana to get all his money and to produce this material because whatever he puts there is going to be heavy.
Yeah.
But government comes in and makes sure and mitigate, in terms of what you put out there. It could be, like you talk about public-private partnership, to help these young businesses to grow.
li nga xamante ne dañ koy bindal jëlee ci secteur yi lii lañ li nga xamante ne dañ koy bindal jëlee ci secteur yi lii lañ defagum fii la est-ce que mën nañu xaar wax ren lu bees lu uute ak daanaka li moo wax ren mi at yi lu uute ak daanaka li ak léegi tey mu war a nekk six time fi nekkee ak léegi tey mu war a nekk six time muy dem ci parlement
war naa doon lu am solo ndax li xew mooy nit ku nekk war ngaa jombale sa bind lu nga xam ne daf la leer ne du lu am wala lu war a ñëw am pour nga nax
léegi gars yi wax dara wala bind président bi wax am ñu ci duut baram
exact loolu moo tax ma ne nit ku nekk war nga jombale sa bopp
waaw baatu jomb
exact
ñëwaat
jombale ko sa bopp ndax li tax mooy tey bu dee kaddu buy jóge ci kilifa la ñi la njaboote yëpp li ñuy xaar mooy jëf bu dee kaddu koy jox kilifa pour mu wax ko defal fexe fekk loo jëf la ba pare wala loo mënta jëf
ok maam nga baal ma na ñëwaat ci yow léegi ñu nga daaneel foofu ñu fàttali rek ne njiiti réew mi président Barrow mu ngi waaj a yegg si noonu ci parlement bi gannaaw bi nga xamante ne jógee ko na ci State House gis ngeen security ñu ngi noonu di direct driver bi fan la war a taxawee pour président bi mun a wàcca right now mu ngi ci red carpet bi ak yooyu so that is the situation right now. The president of course has arrived now at the National Assembly or the premises of the National Assembly, and there he is now. He's going to alight from the vehicle. You can see the speaker already standing by, and the clerk of the National Assembly are going to welcome the president and escort him. So, you know, interesting moments there. So the president is getting down from his vehicle, and then, you know, we welcomed by the speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Fabakary Tombonja. There they shake hands. The clerk also is standing by. They here also shake hands of the president. They welcome him. Then, yeah, of course, there he goes. He now shaking hands with the security personnel. And from there, he would be escorted, like I said, by the speaker, also to, you know, shake hands with some of the members of the, should I say, of course, not some, but members of the National Assembly before he will get inside the chamber. Su ko defee mu ngi noonu ba léegi Président Barrow yegsi na léegi ci parlement bi ñu ngi noonu welcome nañ ko speaker bi ku jiite pencu ndaw rek mu ngi noonu war ko welcome Président Barrow mu ngi noonu war a dem ci li nga xamante ne mooy ci usual protocol yi nga xamante ne daf koo dem guard of honor moom lay def si nii dañoo déglu ak moom li nga xamante ne mooy ñu déglu naas
Excellency, Guard of Honor mounted by the Gambian forces, 6 officers and 60 veterans on parade, in open order, ready for inspection, Your Excellency.
That is the president today, still going around and escorting the security apparatus that are on the ground to welcome him. And these are usual protocol that the president observed anytime that he's at the National Assembly for such an occasion. And you know, after the guard of honor and the national anthem, of course, will be escorted by the security for these usual services, as you are just saying right there. Su ko defee rek mbokk yi comme ni ngeen ko gisee noonu njiiti réew mi gannaaw bu mu yegsee ñu welcome ko ñu tegal ko bakk réew mi dafay dem nemmeeku takkader yi nga xamante ñoom ñoo nekk foofu ci na ñi nga xamante ne bu def jàkkaarloo ci waxtaan bu gàtt bana saguñ kenn waaye suñ team bi ñu ngi ci ground bi nañu update bu dee am na kenn bu fa nekk parce que bési réew mi la mu ngi noonu député speaker bi Sidi Ndiaye ñoom ñaar ak speaker bi léegi ak député yi Bile Tunkara xam naa ñeneen bu ñu leen xam ne one after the other ñoom yëpp Alaaji Daabo moom tamit député la ci opposition bi la bokk waaye tey moom loolu du fi feeñ ñëpp bési réew mi la Abdoulaye Cissé of course mu nekk lu am solo fu mu nekk ni ñoom yëpp dañoo ñëw nuyuwante ak moom mu nekk mu wone la mandarga boobu suma foog naa ne suma ok du ma foog ne suma député bi Omar Diop waaye du moom xam naa ne mu ngi dina ñëw si kanam ba nekk na lu am solo ah waaw
nekk ñu ngi saafante ak moom ñu si bëri sax xëy na ñu ngi door a saafante depuis ñu ñëw si assemblée bi
exactly
li tam lu rafet la baax na trop parce que ñoom ñooy seexal liggéey bi ñooy saytu luwaay yi ñooy saytu tam lañ am na président bi dina indi na ko liggéey budget ak yu noonu
kooku suwaay bu Touré la ñi yoo nekk ñu fa nekkoon moom miin na lii
waaw miin na ko
waaw
dina saafante ñu bëri député yu bëri dina am sax ñu si xam wante
kooku Abdoulaye Ba bu Banjul centre waaw nominated member exactly waaw mu nekk lu am solo one after the other the National Assembly members are greeting or shaking hands of the president. These are usual things that we always say because you know they're going to face him, but equally listen to him as to what he's going to deliver today. Fatcham, and so interesting moments there. Maam lii mu nekk lu am solo
comme ni ma ko waxee rek aada la bu nga xam ne lu jara saxal la ci réew li ko waral mooy tey saafu wante bii président bi di def ak ndaw yi pencum ndawal réew mi rek dina dalal xelu ñi leen fal ñi toogal ñi fa ñoom ñëpp ñu bokk jubluwaayu gis-gisu ne réew mi rek mooy leen yitteel réew mi rek mooy leen yitteel ci lan ci doxalinu loi tey nga ñëw dooleel loi bu nga xam ne doomi réew mi duñ ci gis seen bopp daanaka loolu yaa ngi salfaañee sa taxawaayu réew tey nga ñëw dàkkal loi bu nga xam ne sa réew mën na cee gis boppam yow dafa mel ni da nga wane ñàkk bëgg sa réew loolu yëpp nag tey li koy firndeel mooy ñoom ak président bi ñoo em dayoo ci biir réew mi niñ leen falee lañ falee njiitu réew mi mandat bi président bi am pour gouverner réew mi ci wàllu li nga xam ne mooy doxalinu loi moom la National Assembly members yi am tey ñoom rek ñoo am lii ci réew mi benn kansuloo amut ko benn mayor amut ko benn ministre buñ appoint amuloo sañ-sañu ne at mu ne dañ jox président bi ak yelleef wareef ci yow sa loi ak sa doole ne sa liggéey moo war a ñëw ubbi ko pour nga door ko kon ñii foog dañ war a xam ban solo ak ban fulla la li nga xam ne moom moo nekk National Assembly bi am kon loolu yëpp tey firnde la bu nga xam ne réew mi ñoo war a xam solo si lii waaye président bi tamit lan la ci war a jàngee tey moom moo ñëw fekk si ndaw yi li nga xam ne mooy péncum ndawal réew ma lu dul tey bés bii lépp lu nit soxla ci biir réew mi yaay dem fekki ko léegi lan la ci war a jàngee li ma loi may dem fekki ñii bu fekkee ñoom ñu ngi leen di jox loi ndax waruma xool ci suma xalaatu gis-gis ne bépp loi bu may sant suma ministre mu yóbbu fa bépp loi bu may sant suma nguur ñi jël ko mu war a dem fekk ñii bés dee demoon naa fekki leen wan leen ne lii ak lii laa bëgg liggéeyoon nañ ci lii ak lii ay gàllankoor la lii ay teq-teq la lii ay rëkk-rëkk la lan lañ mën a def pour saafara ko ñoom ñi liggéey collectively gis li nga xam ne mooy Gambia as a nation protect suñ sovereignty protect suñ koom-koom protect suñ li nga xam ne moom moo nekk développement because développement mënut a dem te amuñ koom-koom bi koom-koom mënuñ koo am te réew mi amuñ benn jubluwaay ak benn gis-gis fi jamono tollu adduna moo tar waaye adduna bu taree nag ñiñ jiite ñu nekk suñ kanam yàlla tegal leen bunt yu bëri ci naka la ñuy def ba sàmm suñ am sàmm suñ koom-koom ñoom ñoo war a use seen xalaat bëgg réew mi gis tolluwaay bu nga xam ne bu bés yu mel ni amee li ñuy dégg dina dal suñ xel
te bés bi li ca mu gën a am solo ci leen noo ko waxee tamit mooy nga gis ñaari pàcc yi nga xamante ne ñoom ñoo nekk ci reeni nguur gi mooy exécutif ak législatif bi su ñëwee ba tey war a jàkkaarloo di waxtaan yi fi réew mi loolu war nañ cee mën a xaar parce que lu ci président bi mun a wax tey député ñoom ñoo ci toog càmbaraat ko ñu càmbar wax bi ak la leen wax ci secteur bu nekk loolu dafay am after bés bi mu nekk li nga xamante ne mooy li am solo because comme noo ko waxee tey président bi moom mooy maakaanam ñëw fekk si leen tey
loolu la war a nekk waaw te loolu la si askan bi xaar parce que comme noo ko waxee am nga fi lu baax si réew mi not only sa gox rek lu baax si Gambia bi in fact wel ku si nekk tam dina fexe ba sa gox waaw député amul doole boobu sax ñoo dine su ma dëkk den moo dem amuñ lii nangam su fekkee bokkul ak président bi la nga affaire la kon loolu responsabilité nguur la député loi loo xam ne dinañ ko fi sampa loo xam ne baaxul si askan bi wala indi budget bu nga xam ne dafa ëpp te am feneen fu mu xaj yooyu noonu yooyu bokk na si taxawaay yi gën a important waaye nag ay tali fële nangam fële munuñ ko because soo fi nekkee député opposition nga ne su ma dëkk amuñ tali amuñ lopitaan su nekkul nguur du am ifin sax boo nekkee député bu nga xam ne si parti nguur gi nga nekk bëggul si nguur gi jublu du am kon seen liggéey dañ ko respect mooy di fexe lépp lu nga xam ne ni baaxu si réew mi ñu won ko président bi na ko lii baaxu te du fi amee ñu génnee ko lépp lu nga xam ne dafa daaneel koom-koomi réew mi soo ñu seet naka lañ ko
gaa ngi doon di nataalu foog naa li gars yi wax ne lii na bokk ci souvenir yi souvenir yi nga xamante dafay am solo am na ñu fi nekkoon ci pass législative ñoom ñoo doon enjoy li ñeneen tey ñu ngi seet parce que bokkuñ ci lii li mooy àdduna loo gis dafay fooma lay mujjee so loolu dafay am solo tamit boo nekkee
dundutuloo ko benn dundutuloo ko so ñaar yooyu yëpp benn doo nekk député waaye nga ne fi so ak nag nga bàyyi xel nit ñi la fal te xam ne tey ñooñu nii ñu si gën ñu jar a gëstu leen te nga ku fàtte ñooñu sa affaire du baax ñu si naaj bi ray naaw nekk si tool yi ñu mat a bàyyi xel leen te ñu fi bëri nekk fii tey ñoom ñoo tax ñu nekk ifin président bi si boppam ñoo tax mu nekk
interesting waaw tey Tombo Jatta moom moo nekk di speaker bi honorable mu ngi export noonu président bi kon ni ma ko waxee daaw time bi kenn xalaatu ko woon waaye gis nga politique ak doxalin àdduna ay mbiram président bi mu ngi noonu di waaj a dugg ci biir parlement bi ci boppam député yi ñu ngi gaawtu ñoom tamit pour ñu dem jëli seen toogu yi laata moom muy ànd ak speaker bi dem ñu am tuuti ñoom ñaar waxtaan bu gàtt seen diggante rek fekk dal amagum ci biir sooga nag mu escort ku ñu dem dugga ci biir parlement bi dooree ko ak ñaan ñoom dañu am seen ñaan bopp nuñ koy defee loolu moom bu ko defee loolu mooy ubbi proceedings yi den su ko defee lu ci war a am ci kaddu yi nga xamante ne président bi war na ko mun a gaaral ñu xaar loolu ci kanam tuuti wax nañ ne luy baaxoo di am la téere réew mi sart réew mi ñoom ñoo moom moo ko santaane ñu wax ne at bu nekk lim gën a néew benn yoon moom président bi war naa dem ci pencu ndaw réew mi wax ak ñoom ci tolluwaay réew mi ci doxalin yi ci jafe-jafe yi ak lu bari li nga xamante ne ci loolu la nguur gi ne mu nekk lu am solo loolu lañ tey tamit di witness right now loolu lañ nekk di gis su ko defee ci kanam tuuti incha allah ñu war a xaar président bi ci loolu well once again wherever you might be around the world just to remind you you're watching live proceedings of this broadcast of the 2022 State of the Nation's address here in the Gambia. Of course, in case you're away from home, the president in a moment is expected to walk into the National Assembly chambers to deliver a statement where he's expected to highlight some of the development that have been taken by his government. And before we would get to that level, let's go back to the, okay, we'll get to that. I wanted to bring on our team on the ground, but apparently we will get to him in a moment, hopefully. But as I was saying, the president would anytime soon get into the chambers and then deliver a statement where we expect him to highlight some of the very relevant, of course, issues and development the government have to made on the so let's get to the National Assembly now. Nene Bojang is still on the line. Nene, thank you very much again. The president have just arrived and he have walked inside the National Assembly building. Apparently before the main session would start, what can you tell us apparently outside, right now, what is happening?
Barakbake yarama jerejef nin tembenna mbengajale ko bimu national assembly lungoti lungo mi yalon ko pour banko president wena nan kana kuma banko moli katandi ku munebe kering nim ku mun safono ko ala branchol ta ben kabo ministry afana kadal department dola pour kadiam banko moli mimbe kering nan temben akumata bake birin ku mom na president nata nan ngajale ko ala arrival ning ay nim molle ya bendu nan molle nata nan mo kuma balle bijanto safono kuma la sutia fan kabo birin vice president will be bijantol fok the last person mi yalon ko awdo ko masakunda to will be nata nan jantol budum bira nata nan ngajal ko mo folol ya bendu min ku folo min wala banko la fore ya julo
prayers.
And, standing
Almighty God,
President is now
who in thy wisdom and goodness has appointed the offices of rulers and parliament,
any moment from now,
for the welfare of society and the just government of men. We beseech thee to behold with thy abundant favor us thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in this land. Let thy blessings descend upon us here in this house assembled. Grant us that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberations in so just and faithful a manner to promote thy honor and glory, to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of this country and of those whose interests thou hast committed to our care. Amen. Communication from the chair. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, His Excellency Mr. Adama Barrow, Your Excellency the Vice President of the Republic, Your Excellencies former Vice Presidents, my Lord the Chief Justice and Judges of the Gambia, former Honorable Speakers of the National Assembly, Honorable Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Ministers and former Ministers here and present, Honorable Members of the National Assembly and former National Assembly members, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, service chiefs, presidential advisors, leaders of political parties, Lord Mayors and regional governors, permanent secretaries, directors, and senior government officials, our distinguished chiefs, Sefolus, distinguished invited guests, the press, all other protocols duly and respectfully observed. Honorable members, in accordance with Section 77(1) of the 1997 Constitution and Order 24(1) of the Standing Orders, His Excellency Mr. Adama Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia, is here today to attend and address a sitting of the National Assembly on the condition of the Gambia, the policies of government, and the administration of state. In this regard, I wish to extend on behalf of both sides of the Assembly a warm welcome to His Excellency the President to the National Assembly. Honorable members, His Excellency's presence in this Assembly today is significant in our parliamentary calendar. It will enable honorable members of the legislature to have the opportunity to hear from the head of the executive, that's the President, on the condition of the Gambia, the policies of government, and the administration of the state. Honorable members, this year marks the President's first State of the Nation address to the 6th legislature in our democratic dispensation. Traditionally, this particular session of the Assembly attracts Gambians and people from all walks of life. Therefore, I want to seize this opportunity on behalf of both sides of the Assembly to welcome you all here. On that note, I wish to once again welcome His Excellency the President to the National Assembly in fulfillment of his constitutional mandate. I thank you very much. Honorable Clerk, can we continue?
Motion. State of the Nation Address 2022 by His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia.
Honorable members, I now have the singular honor and privilege to invite His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia, President Adama Barrow, to deliver his address. Please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. First, I will start with the introductory remarks. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of the National Assembly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank Allah, the Almighty, for His grace and glory, and for making this legislative session possible. The event is a mandatory provision of the Constitution, and it creates the necessary atmosphere to hold an annual interview and the for the nation. Mr. Speaker, very complex and challenging circumstances inform my address this morning. It portrays the experience of a transformed nation, a nation of peace-loving people who stood up to dictatorship in a peaceful manner, embraced democracy, and embarked upon reconciliation and national development. These achievements came about through the political context that gave rise to the 2016 coalition and the sense of national unity and commitment which brought about the alliances leading to the last presidential and legislative elections. That characterized the country's 5-year transition period, 2017 to 2022. The emergence of COVID-19 pandemic, with its dreadful consequences globally, was in the country's economic situation. Furthermore, in a twist of fortune, what appeared to be a relief and hope for a new dawn of recovery is dampened by the Russia-Ukraine war. The address highlights my administration's performance, derived from the performance of our formal national institutions. It is a sector-specific based on major public programs and projects. Legislative issues relevant to the functions of this assembly, matters of national significance, and proposed interventions. Because it focuses on the institutional arrangements of the last legislative year, I will mention the new ministries briefly. For reason of constraint, the address is concise, but additional details on the themes are provided in the accompanying report. The sequence of the sectors is arbitrary, but I will begin with the finance sector, as this will cast light on the underlying circumstances, considerations, and arrangements that influence the decisions and events mentioned in my deliberations. Finance and Economic Affairs, Honorable Speaker. Despite the significant impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Gambian economy, growth rebounded to 4.5% in 2021. Although the growth remained below the pre-pandemic levels, it was still significant. However, the slowdown of business activities in 2020 and the third wave of the virus in July 2021 affected the economy's recovery. In 2022, the economy could have been well into recovery, with expectations of improved economic performance increased grant inflows, and private remittances. Unfortunately, it took a different trend as economies across the globe grapple with the impact of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Consequently, in June, the government projected a more modest growth of 3.6% for 2022. Revenue collection for the first 2 months of 2022 declined by 14% against the same period in 2021. Prompted by this development, the government resolved to formulate robust policies that would set up buffers against shocks and enhance domestic revenue mobilization. Notwithstanding the challenges, the fourth review of the extended credit facility with the IMF was successfully completed in December 2021. We remain committed to sound economic policy management as detailed in the medium-term economic fiscal framework 2022-2026. The framework is to improve macro-fiscal stability. With the support of the United Nations Development Programme, the initial stages of the formulation of a recovery-focused National Development Plan, RFNDP, 2023-2027, and a long-term development vision, LTDV 2050, have started. The RFNDP will succeed the National Development Plan 2018-2021, and the LTDV will succeed Vision 20 for the country's long-term development targets and transformation. The Gambia was among 44 countries that presented their voluntary national reviews, VNRs, on the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals during the high-level political forum held in New York in July 2022. The reviews facilitate the sharing of experiences. Partners commended the Gambia for the inclusive and participatory nature of its VNR and the policies and strategies being implemented to accelerate the implementation of the 2030 agenda. The Gambia's total debt service payment in 2021 was $5.01 billion. Of this, $1.9 billion was external debt service payment, and $3.1 billion was domestic debt service payment. The debt service payment increased by 11.1%, from $4.5 billion in 2020 to $5 billion in 2021. There was no debt service suspension initiative received compared to the preceding year. As update on the Public Finance Management, PFM, the PFM Act is under revision to address the weaknesses. Once finalized, the public finance regulations and institutions will be revised. Our public finance management reforms include a treasury single account to ensure better treasury management functions. Also initiated is a public financial management strategy 2021-2025 to address weaknesses in the financial management of local government authorities and ensure effective use of the IFMIS. To conclude, Cabinet have approved the Public-Private Partnership PPP bill for tabling by this August Assembly. It speaks to the revised national PPP policy and operational guidelines. Foreign affairs, international cooperations, and Gambians abroad. Honorable Speaker, during the last 5 years, the country's diplomacy registered many successes, resulting in visits to the Gambia by various foreign dignitaries and scaling up of bilateral relations with different countries around the world. Our partnerships at the multilateral level have generated support for many projects in diverse areas of development. Furthermore, the Foreign Service contributed significantly to mobilizing support to complement the country's COVID response when it mattered. The international community recognizes our commitment to dialogue and peace. No wonder the United Nations Secretary General's yearly report of the Peace Building Commission singled out the Gambia as a model for preventive diplomacy. Our commitment to building and sustaining peace continues to attract material and financial assistance from the Secretary General's Peace Building Fund and other international partners. We maintain fruitful strategic relations with ECOWAS member states and actively engage and support mediation processes under the auspices of the African Union and ECOWAS. Within ECOWAS, the Gambia now holds the position of President of the ECOWAS Commission with effect from June 2022. For the first time in our history, the Gambia has a seat on the United Nations Human Rights Council for a 3-year term effective from January 2022. At the level of the African Union, the Gambia also received overwhelming votes to sit on the Peace and Security Council. Mr. Speaker, as of January 2022, remittances stood at $777 million, representing about 40% of GDP. The plight and role of Gambians in the diaspora in national development therefore remain high on my government's agenda. We will continue to engage with them meaningfully and remain active in global discussions to address migration concerns. Finally, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is reformulating its strategic plan, scheme of service, and posting policy. Also underway is the drafting of a foreign service bill and regulation to uphold excellence and efficiency within the sector. Agriculture, Honorable Speaker. Last year, the agriculture sector registered increases above national average in the production levels of crops, such as paddy, maize, millet, groundnut, and sesame. The production of key commodities like vegetables, fruits, milk, and eggs also increased. As a result, per capita availability of these food items has increased, even though both population and demand increase. Due to increased support from FAO and WFP, commercial poultry farming increased by about 40% in 2021. At present, the Ministry of Agriculture is implementing 8 major projects with a total portfolio of about $294.13 million mobilized through partner support. These projects are jointly funded by government and partners, such as the Food and Agriculture Organization, the World Food Programme, the African Development Bank, and the Islamic Development Bank. The projects are outlined in the report. To boost the incomes of farming households, the government has in the past 5 years invested heavily to modernize and transform agriculture sector. As a result, through donor-funded projects, the sector was able to reach 300 communities, thus opening 6,000 hectares for rice cultivation, 400 hectares for vegetable production, and more than 100 poultry schemes to boost the availability of poultry meat and locally produced eggs. These investments and their results have laid a solid foundation for the sector's investment plan. Government plans to create a fund that will carry about 70% guarantee to the financial institutions for credit financing of agricultural investments by either individuals or SMEs. Hopefully, this will induce the needed capital to transform and modernize agriculture in the country. Environment, Honorable Speaker. Regardless of the country's low contribution to global emission, it has taken a lead role in climate action through our revised nationally determined contribution to the Paris Agreement, where we committed ourselves with international support to reducing emission by 49.7% by 2030. The international community recognizes the Gambia as the only country on track to achieving the Paris Agreement temperature goal of 1.5 degrees centigrade by 2050. Notwithstanding this, the Gambia is vulnerable to the negative impact of climate change, as shown by the frequency of windstorms and floods. To mitigate this, the government developed relevant policy documents and implemented adaptation and resilience building project amounting to $36 million in the past 5 years. Closely related to climate change are issues around the misuse of chemicals and hazardous materials. In this respect, the National Environment Agency has formulated a bill on pesticide and chemical management for submission to the National Assembly after finalization. For proper management and use of the coastal and marine resources in the country, the government will enforce the Integrated Coastal Zone Management Bill after its enactment. To conclude, I commend the sector for their efforts to rehabilitate the degraded mangrove and forest cover in the country. We applaud them also for the increase in the non-timber products, such as honey, handicrafts, fruits, and nuts. Health, Honorable Speaker, over the last 5 years, my government successfully expanded and developed healthcare services through improved infrastructure, personnel, and supplies on a reformed health financing landscape. A major achievement of my administration is the introduction of the Gambia National Health Insurance Scheme. The act to establish the scheme became effective in November 2021 to particularly benefit the poor and the vulnerable, while serving as a social safety net. Key health indicators have improved notably. For example, maternal and child mortality has declined. Skilled birth attendance, postnatal care, and nutrition have improved considerably. On training, the Gambia now offers postgraduate training at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital. In addition, the UTG offers health-related programs at bachelor's level. Government introduction of community ambulance service following the distribution of 80 new ambulances in areas without health facilities is widely applauded in the country. We will see how it evolves as the new National Health Policy 2021-2030 and the National Health Strategic Plan 2021-2025 guide the sector's activities. There is a wide range of construction works in progress to expand services throughout the country. Ongoing, for example, is the construction of a National Emergency Treatment Center, National Laboratory Center, and Blood Transfusion Center in Farata. Development of the Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Bill 2022 is ongoing for submission to the National Assembly when finalized. It is meant to create universal access to health services. Basic and secondary education, Honorable Speaker. The basic and secondary education sector remains committed to providing result-oriented programs to improve access and quality education and to remove inequities in education service delivery. As such, the sector will conduct a mid-term review of the 2016-2030 education sector policy, jointly prepared by the Ministries of Basic and Secondary Education and Higher Education, Research, Science, and Technology. The country continues to register impressive progress at all levels of the education sector, and it is pleasing that female students now have higher gross enrollment and net enrollment rates at all levels, from ECD and lower basic to the upper basic and senior secondary school levels. To meet the increasing demand for education, the number of schools increased correspondingly by 102 between 2020 to 2021. We partner support Government Bill 2,597 new classrooms and 3,116 toilet cubicles during the last 5 years. Additional 498 classrooms and 456 toilet cubicles are under construction, and 1,076 rooms for teacher accommodation are already in use around the country. There are plans to increase the number to ease accommodation challenges for teachers. Honorable National Assembly members, through the collaboration with the Gambia College and the University of the Gambia, 1,162 more teachers were trained in 2021. During the same period, qualified teachers for the upper basic and senior secondary school levels increased by 480 and 338 respectively. Although enrollment at the secondary and upper levels remained low in 2021, the sector registered substantial improvements on the pass rate for the 2021 Gambia Basic Education Certificate Examination and the West African Senior School Certificate Examination. Similarly, girls' performance at the West African Senior School Certificate Examination was improved slightly. The grade 12 WAS results showed that 2,882 female candidates had 5 credits or more in 2020, an increase from the 2019 figures of 2,797 female students. Overall performance continues to improve. Finally, to expand opportunities and education access for out-of-school children, enrollment for the Second Chance Education Program has increased, and it now leads from the Gabisi to WAS. It strongly indicates that this policy decision has a positive impact on our young people, who would otherwise be left without fewer options to better their lives. We appreciate and will continue to strengthen the partnerships established with our partners, UNICEF, the World Food Programme, the World Bank, Islamic Development Bank, Badia, OFIT, MRC Holland Foundation, the Kuwaiti Fund, and most recently with EU stand out among them. We thank them immensely. Higher education, research, science, and technology. Honorable Speaker, the education, research, science, and technology sector is going through a transformation phase that would lead to the much desired institutional and infrastructural development in the country. In the area of infrastructure, government has completed about 70% of the civil works of the University of the Gambia UTG Faraba Banta Campus project, after inheriting it with less than 1% implementation status. The upgrading of the Wascal campus made it possible to begin doctoral programs on climate change and adaptive land use in country. Annually, 10 Gambians go to other postgraduate Wascal centers in the sub-region. Alongside program delivery within the sector, the RIPGAM Renewable Energy Project is working to solarize 23 villages and train over 200 Gambian youths in renewable energy management. Honorable Speaker, the GTTI is now the University of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology, and it operates through mentorship programs. About 100 undergraduate students have enrolled as the first and second batches on the electronic, mechanical, and civil engineering degree programs. The Gambia will train more students at PhD level to complement the academic and administrative staff of the new university. Meanwhile, the foundation stone was laid recently to relocate the institution. At present, about 486 Gambians have awards and are pursuing higher education courses in the country and abroad. Many of them are in the sciences. In the interim, the UTG PhD programs are expanding gradually. The Ministry of Higher Education is equally upgrading the Management Development Institute, MDI, into a degree awarding institution. At present, over 21 students have enrolled on the institution's degree program supported by SOCDECO of Senegal. These degree programs will help us to realize the civil service reform objectives and strengthen the workforce. Similarly, the Gambia College schools of agriculture, nursing and public health are part of the UTG to offer degree programs. The Gambia College Annex in Basse complement these efforts by training teachers within URR. Because of the need for skills development programs, the Julangel and Mansakonko skill centers will intensify training efforts in this area. Both are fully operational in URR and LRR. To boost this, the revitalized Ndemban and Kanelai skill centers in West Coast region will begin operations soon. With the support of the Korea International Cooperation Agency and UNESCO, the Gambia TVET Policy 2021-2030 is now in operations. Significantly as well, the ministry has validated the country's first ever national research policy to promote research in the country. Incidentally, the Gambia is known for its quality research works, especially in the medical and biological sciences. The policy will strengthen this success. Petroleum and energy, Honorable Speaker. Like other sectors, the COVID pandemic affected petroleum exploration, which the Russia-Ukraine war has worsened. Despite this, FAR and Petronas successfully completed the drilling of Bambo 1 in December 2021. This is an offshore exploration well. We keenly await the results on this endeavor. On energy, a welcome development is the respective commissioning of the ONVG substations in Birikama and Soma last year. Since the inauguration of the Soma substation in October 2021, NAWEC has been receiving power from Senegal through the 225 kV ONVG line. In March 2022, NAWEC signed a 50 megawatt power purchase agreement with Senelec and began receiving 30 megawatt of this capacity in April. In addition to the 20 megawatt solar plant in Jambur, feasibility studies for the 150 megawatt solar park in the Gambia are ongoing. Execution ends in 2025. The NAMA project under UNDP will also provide 10 megawatt solar energy between Farafenni and Basse. Mr. Speaker, works on the electrification to attain the 2025 universal access goal set by my government is in high gear. This program will provide electricity access to 685 villages and modernize the network transmission and distribution systems. Recently, the Gambia signed a $25 million grant agreement with the Millennium Challenge Corporation of the US, and the National Assembly ratified it for implementation. It will elevate NAWEC's operations and strengthen the governance and regulatory frameworks of the electricity subsector. Honorable members, plans are afoot to solve the water supply bottlenecks through the Indian government-supported project, to which the World Bank and the African Development Bank contribute. Furthermore, my administration has resolved to separate the water business from the electricity business at NAWEC and have them as two independent corporations. This initiative will make a difference in the country. Tourism, Honorable Speaker. The pandemic hit the tourism sector badly, but we expect them to bounce back soon. In 2021, arrivals stood at 102,460, marking an increase of over 14%, and the future looks bright. Since the beginning of the 2021-2022 tourism season, 53 flights arrive per week. Meanwhile, the ministry is exploring various ways of diversifying the sector and is expanding in-country destination activities and products. Turning to the culture subsector, in April of this year, the National Center for Arts and Culture embarked on a multi-million-dollar project geared towards strengthening national capacities for safeguarding intangible cultural heritage, ICH, and contributing to sustainable development in the Gambia 2020-2024. Funded by UNESCO, the project aims at complementing efforts to safeguard our heritage. We will continue to support this important sector. Gender, children, and social welfare, Honorable Speaker. To begin with regulation, government will continue to initiate policies and programs that address the needs and aspirations of the people, especially the vulnerable population. Hence the formulation of the Gender Policy 2023-2032. Currently, the Disability Act 2021 is in force and will inform the formulation of a disability policy and program of action 2022-2032. To address emerging issues on child protection, the Children's Act 2005 is also under review to give way to the National Children Policy 2022-2032. Honorable Speaker, gender and women empowerment is a critical enabler of sustained and progressive development. Therefore, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare will table a cabinet paper on a national gender mainstreaming strategy. We will remain steadfast to enhance the capacity of women in small and medium-scale enterprises, SMEs, by scaling of the Women Enterprise Fund. I am happy to state that the fund surpasses the targeted small and medium-scale enterprises from 10,000 to 23,000 enterprises. Government provided the entire $17 million fund. Through the Family Strengthening Program, the ministry provided $750,000 support to 300 vulnerable families and 150 vulnerable elderly persons. This program assists vulnerable families and persons through cash transfers. Youth and sports. Honorable Speaker, to promote youth and sports development, the Ministry of Youth and Sports is working to reorganize and restructure its satellite institutions by reviewing their acts and policies. The outcome of the regional forums on the review of the National Sports Policy and the National Youth and Sports Acts will guide the remaining stages of the process. In the meantime, the National Youth Service Scheme has enrolled 150 young people for apprenticeship and skill acquisition training. An additional 150 passed out and proceeded to other institutions. The next phase is to accelerate the program in the coming fiscal year. During the year under review, the President International Award Skill and Enterprise Training Center graduated 225 youth in 9 different trade areas. But the proposed mandatory national service for young Gambians university graduates is still on hold. In the same vein, a series of training programs has been running in various areas for the youth and women in partnership with NIDI, GIZ, EU, TF, Go for Africa, and other partners. The award program continues to focus on its nationwide expansion to reach all young people across the country. Current participation level stands at 8,765 young persons. Over 689 youth have already completed the mandatory aspect of the programs, mandatory aspects of the program. Mr. Speaker, the Gambia's performance in international competitions is improving rapidly, as demonstrated in the last African Cup of Nations, the Commonwealth Games, and the last Turkey athletics competitions. We congratulate our athletes on their impressive results. To strengthen this, construction of mini stadiums is progressing on 8 sites across the country. We are aware of the maintenance works required at the Independence Stadium, and the contracts have been tendered to address the matter. Office of the Vice President. Honorable Speaker, the government formulated a national social protection policy to establish by 2030 an inclusive, integrated, and comprehensive social protection system. It is meant to contribute to broader human development, greater economic productivity, and inclusive growth. The year 2021 was an engaging year for the National Disaster Management Agency, NDMA. The country experienced serious domestic fire outbreaks, windstorms, and flash floods, which continue to affect lives and livelihoods. In response, government supported 1,952 households affected by windstorms, each receiving $7,500 monthly for 3 months. In view of the COVID pandemic, my administration distributed rice countrywide through NDMA. Furthermore, it disbursed $450,000 for rice, oil, sugar, mattresses, and other essential items to support 1,161 Senegalese affected by the Sanyang riot. Honorable members, evaluation and revision of the National Population Policy 2007-2011 is in progress. In addition, the National Population Commission will lead the revision of the Act for the National Population Commission and its Secretariat to further determine the mandate and authority of the Secretariat as an institution. Following the development of a new population policy, the Secretariat will lead the development of an accompanying strategic plan and establish and train the network of parliamentarians on population and development. We thank UNFPA for their invaluable support. As part of the Civil Service Reform Program 2018-2027, PMO is striving to transform the public service into an efficient, motivated workforce. So far, my government has successfully revised the pay and grading structure to rationalize the civil service remuneration package. Effective from July 2022, we increased salaries by 30%. The National Assembly passed the 2020-2022 Public Service Pension Bill in February of this year, and I assented to it. The new act centralizes the administration of civil service pension under the Personal Management Office PMO. This is designed to yield a more rational pension and gratuity scheme for civil servants. To improve performance, PMO with support from the Commonwealth Secretariat is working on the performance management system to hold all ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, accountable annually. The MDAs will have to sign a performance contract with the Office of the President for assessment. The top 10 ministries will receive recognition and incentives on an annual basis. In May of this year, the new Ministry of Public Service, Administrative Reforms, Policy Coordination and Delivery took over responsibilities for the entire civil service, including the supervision of PMO to achieve my administration's public service reform agenda and vision. Information communication infrastructure. Honorable Speaker, there is a strong desire to digitally transform the economy, improve the national ICT infrastructure, and strengthen our ICT policies and regulatory frameworks. Key among the steps taken to realize these targets are the formulation of the ICT 4D Master Plan in 2020 and the ongoing review of the IC Act 2009. Added to this, the government through MOISI is implementing the project preparatory stage in advance of the 5-year World Bank funded $45 million Western Africa Regional Digital Integration Project. The project will support the rollout of numerous digital development interventions, which include the establishment of a second submarine cable to provide adequate backup for the ACE submarine cable. It also has components on strengthening cybersecurity. The formulation of an e-commerce policy and strategy is another key activity of the project, as government accelerates efforts to support the growth of this important industry. This intervention will lead to the next phase of the digital addressing initiative in the West Coast region. The initiative will facilitate assigning digital addresses to about 80,000 properties by December 2022. To fully utilize the economic potential of our national broadband infrastructure, the administration went into a partnership with the EU through the Belgian Development Agency for the implementation of the Gambia Digitalization Project. The objective is to strengthen the sector policy and regulatory frameworks, develop an integrated infrastructure master plan for effective mobilization of private sector investments, and formulate an e-commerce policy. In a bid to spur technology, enable research and innovation, government is championing the establishment of innovation and tech hubs in all regions of the country. The purpose is to increase employment and employability opportunities for the youth and women, especially those in rural Gambia. As regards cybersecurity and cybercrime, the sector will table the data protection and the privacy and cybercrime bills for this august body to consider. The quest to transform the sector led to the creation of the two separate ministries of information and of communication and digital economy. Transport, works and infrastructure. Honorable Speaker. In 2021, the transport, works and infrastructure sector registered impressive achievements despite challenges posed by the COVID pandemic and slow economic growth. In the road subsector, my administration successfully completed the $82 million China Aid Roads and Bridges project in the URR. Likewise, relying on local resources and funding, the major rural secondary paved roads program on the north and south banks is progressing satisfactorily. In the capital city of Banjul, the government rolled out the Banjul City Rehabilitation Project to reconstruct the city's dilapidated roads, sewage and drains using local funds. Relentless efforts will continue to modernize Banjul. With support of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, and the Islamic Development Bank, the Greater Banjul Area projects are moving forward steadily. Equally, the construction of 50 kilometers of urban feeder roads in the Greater Banjul area has commenced. Furthermore, government has finalized the maintenance and reconstruction contracts using the road fund for the proper upkeep of selected roads in the Greater Banjul area and the North Bank and the Central River regions. The estimated cost is $617,296,691.73 buttons. In addition, my administration has rolled out a massive reconstruction program of markets in growth centers where the need is most urgent. Already, the new Soma LRR and Farafenye NBD markets were completed last year and are fully operational. Similarly, constructed at a cost of $112 million and inaugurated earlier this year, the new Basse main market is now a magnificent center of attraction and a busy business hub in URR. Linked to public structures, the Public Building Facilities Management Bill is with this Assembly for consideration. It is a new framework for effective management of government estates, offices, and overseas buildings. Turning attention to the port, the Banjul Port Expansion Project is ongoing, and expansion of the container storage yard is now complete. The Banjul Jetty Extension and Basse Dry Port Development Project are the next areas of focus. Ferry services play a vital role in linking the north and south banks, although ferry crossing remains a challenge. In the year under review, the Ferry Service Authority improved the Banjul-Bara route service and restore the Barajali ferry service. The procurement of a new ferry at a cost of €10 million to augment the Banjul-Bara route service is at an advanced stage. The Gambia Port Authority expects its delivery in 2024. This new ferry will have the capacity to carry 44 cars and 600 passengers. A new ferry route between Banjul and Albreda is under consideration. The route will run from Banjul through Mandinari and Bonto to Albreda. In addition to the parts of the West Coast region, it will serve the southern part of Nyomi and communities along the Hakalang corridor. Mr. Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic continues to pose a significant threat to international aviation. In 2021, the Banjul International Airport staff welcomed and processed about 200,473 passengers. This marked a slight increase of 0.05 compared to 2020. The estimated growth rates are small, and the indication is that the Gambia may reach pre-COVID passenger levels by 2025 at the earliest. On the airport, through the support of Saudi Fund for Development, a new state-of-the-art VVIP launch is under construction ahead of the Organization of Islamic Conference Heads of State and Government Summit, which the Gambia will host. Defense, Honorable Speaker. In line with the security sector reform process, the Ministry of Defense has developed 3 important policy documents, namely the National Security Policy, National Security Strategy, and the first ever National Defense Policy. The drafting of the strategic plan has commenced. Other outdated military regulatory books, which include the Gambia Armed Forces Act 1985 and the Terms and Conditions of Service for Officers and Soldiers 1993, have been redrafted, taking cue from international best practices. Development of the supporting regulatory frameworks is also in progress. The Gambia Armed Forces is broadening engagements with civil society to maintain a cordial relationship with the public. In addition to collaborating closely with other security agencies, it provides security, participates in maintaining peace and order, and goes further to support war veterans. Following the recent conflict in Casamance between the MFDC and the Senegalese Armed Forces, the Gambia Armed Forces play a crucial role in diffusing the tension and restoring calm. Its troops continue to conduct routine patrols in the area to maintain peace and security. Besides plans to expand provision of educational and health services, the Gambia Armed Forces intends to construct a military hospital capable of conducting surgical operations. I must mention before concluding that over 500 Gambia Armed Forces personnel benefited from training facilitated by the British Army during the past 5 years, different from other training programs and joint tactical activities. Under the Turkey-Gambia Military Cooperation Agreement, another 500 personnel of the Gambia Quick Reaction Force recently completed training in Turkey. We are grateful to the British and Turkish government for their massive support. Trade industry, regional integration and employment. Honorable Speaker, in the past 5 years, the Ministry of Trade implemented programs and projects that attracted investments and supported the development of trade and the private sector in the country. We regret, however, the COVID-19 pandemic and the recent Russia-Ukraine war has impacted negatively on food importation around the world. These external shocks have led to price hikes. To mitigate the impact, government has been adopting measures since 2020. For instance, we supported local producers, particularly the flour milling companies, to cushion the cost of production and minimize the price of flour. To promote stability, the ministry is working with importers to increase importation and supply of essential commodities and stabilize commodity prices. A review of the national trade policy is in progress to develop appropriate instruments that would improve the Gambia's competitive edge and strengthen the productive sectors. That aside, as the Gambia prepares to start trading under the AFCFTA framework, we now have a 10-year AFCFTA National Implementation Strategy 2021-2031. To optimize the benefits from the AFCFTA, the Senegambia Bridge will serve as a catalyst to attract strategic investment and contribute to the diversification of the economy. In a related matter, we participate actively in ECOWAS integration programs and have a national regional integration policy and strategy 2021-2025. On investment and export promotion, the Trade Ministry through GAIPA developed a new national export strategy 2021-2025. It outlines key priority areas for the realization of our national export development aspirations. Mr. Speaker, during the last 5 years, GAIPA attracted 39 companies in manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, and fisheries, among other areas of interest. These amounted to a total investment of $154 million and created 2,274 jobs. The Ministry of Trade will launch the Entrepreneurship Development Fund this year to support cottage industries and businesses with a soft revolving loan scheme on a more sustainable basis. The institutional structure of the Entrepreneurship Development Fund Trust Committee has been set up, and GAIPA serves as the secretariat for the fund. My government has reduced the business incorporation fee from $10,000 to $4,000 to assess the market conditions for the establishment of a credit reporting system to improve on the business environment. On employment creation, the sector launched the Gambia Labor Force Survey in 2021 to provide up-to-date statistics on the labor market. As a result, a new National Employment Policy and Action Plan 2022-2026 are available to pursue government's commitment to addressing unemployment issues. During the reporting period, the Techie Fee Program and the Youth Empowerment Project supported over 4,500 Gambians with skills training and provided finance and startup support to more than 1,500 young entrepreneurs. The YEP Mini Loan Scheme, implemented in partnership with the Social Development Fund, provided $11 million of private capital to young entrepreneurs. On the YEP, young entrepreneurs had close to $25 million disbursed to them as small business grants. To strengthen labor administration, the ministry reviewed and updated the Labor Act 2007 and established an employment service center to link job seekers and employers. There is an accompanying 5-year strategic plan to effectively operationalize the employment service center. The legal sector, Honorable Speaker, as the Constitution remains a top priority, my government is determined to oversee the crafting of a new constitution for the Gambia. Therefore, the Ministry of Justice will resume work towards tabling a draft constitution before this August Assembly. As part of its mandate, the ministry will continue leading the review and harmonization of existing legislation with particular focus on laws that suppress freedoms and rights. For now, bills on criminal justice reform and mutual legal assistance are before this Assembly. I hope they will be dealt with eventually. Among other bills tabled before the National Assembly is the Anti-Corruption Bill 2020, which seeks to establish an anti-corruption commission after enactment to uproot corruption. Cabinet recently approved the Intellectual Property Bill 2021 to streamline the administration of intellectual property rights in the Gambia and have a centralized intellectual system. Following the submission of the TRRC report last year, Cabinet approved the relevant government white paper in May 2022 for implementation. Mr. Speaker, with 3 years of existence, the NHRC proved to be fully compliant with the Paris Principles. As a result, the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions granted it A status. To the credit of government and the Commission, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights also granted it affiliated status. Thus, it can share submission with them on human rights issues within the country. We will support its attainment of first-class accreditation status. The ministry is committed to the construction of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights headquarters as part of government's contribution towards hosting the secretariat. Its purpose is to transform the Gambia into the capital of human rights promotion. On the international front, the Gambia will pursue to the end the case of justice for the Rohingya before the International Court of Justice. It is encouraging that the Netherlands and Canada have joined us to end the genocide of the Rohingya. Mr. Speaker, the role of the courts in providing access to quality justice delivery constitutes the pillars of a stable democracy, peace, and development. As a result, my administration is committed to supporting the judiciary's growth and development, recruitment of judicial experts, particularly qualified Gambians, and maintenance of its independence and impartiality. To achieve this noble goal, the executive will collaborate with the Chief Justice and the Judicial Commission. We honor them and celebrate their achievements with them. The subsector is aware of the need to expand the implementation of post-transitional justice mechanism, redress victims of rights violation, and scale up advocacy on healing and reconciliation. We will remain supportive of the judiciary as it addresses these issues and evolves to maintain public trust and respect. Fisheries, water resources, and National Assembly matters. Honorable Speaker, the fisheries sector contributes about 12% to GDP and provides direct employment to over 30,000 people. It has an enormous potential to contribute to diversifying the economy and reducing the unemployment rates. The new policy, medium-term strategic document, and plan of action for the sector are ready for validation. Once finalized, the Ministry of Fisheries will work towards amending the Fisheries Act and regulations. With partner support, the sector is expanding use of fish processing and preservation technologies to contribute to the economic viability of small-scale fish smoking enterprises of women. They constitute up to 80% of post-harvest fisheries operators in the sector. In the major operations to combat illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing, the Gambia Navy, police force, and volunteer fishermen recently seized and destroyed over 500 illegal fishing traps and tried 5 culprits before competent district tribunals. It flags the need for sustained vigilance. Mr. Speaker, my government will table 2 agreements before this Honorable Assembly for ratification. There are agreements between the government of the Gambia and the government of Senegal on fisheries and aquaculture, and the government of Ghana on fisheries. The sector will also introduce to this honorable body a bill to provide an up-to-date comprehensive water act for the Gambia and a bill to establish a new National Water Resources Management Authority. Correspondingly, the National Meteorological and Hydrological Services provider and partners are collaborating with the World Meteorological Organization to implement the national framework for climate services and intensify action to address climate risks and related issues. I encourage the private sector and other actors to team up with the government to fully harness the opportunities created and reduce the hazards associated with the climate system. Lands, local government, and religious affairs. Honorable Speaker. As population growth poses challenges to land usage, land resources are under tremendous strain globally. Accordingly, my administration recognizes that prudent management of these precious resources is essential for poverty reduction and national food security. The Ministry of Lands, Regional Government and Religious Affairs must execute these functions effectively and impartially. On programs and projects, the sector is currently implementing 20 workshop projects with a total fund disbursement capacity of $21,231,460. The sub-projects take the form of water supply systems, grading and culvert construction. The second phase accommodates 12 additional wards in URR North and South. Moving on, the Directorate of Governance and Decentralization is set to roll out the Integrated Financial Management Information System, IFMIS, to all the local government councils to improve sound fiscal management. The COVID outbreak delayed the process initially. The project cost estimate is $7,810,200, which the government and UNDP will provide. Honorable members, the sector is reviewing the Local Government Act 2002, the Finance and Audit Act 2004, and the Local Government Service Scheme. The objective is to make them responsive to government's evolving local governance and decentralization policy. In recognition of the role of the village heads, Alkalolu, in their communities, my administration now pays every Alkalo a monthly responsibility allowance of $3,000 with effect from January 2022. Finally, the NGO bill is ready for enactment as the NGO Act 2021. Interior, Honorable Speaker. The Gambia Police Force continues to protect life and property and preserve law and order for peace and stability. To this end, the Gambia Police Force, with the support of local and international partners, has refocused its strategic plan and core values to align them with the national security policy, national security strategy, and the national security sector reform strategy. Related to this, the Gambia Police Force has developed 14 operational instruments, standard operating procedures and guidelines, and a national community policing strategy. To briefly comment on its operations, the Gambia Police Force currently has 25 community policing programs and 175 active community policing structures, supported by community policing volunteers. Together with other security services, I commend them for their effective participation in the last two national elections. They promoted impartiality and democratic policing values. To avert attrition and enhance adequate security for the upcoming OIC summit from 2021 to date, the Gambia Police Force recruited 1,200 personnel and conducted 63 training programs for 1,812 police officers in critical areas of policing. On the other hand, the Gambia Immigration Department collaborated with the Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance to amend the current 1965 Immigration Act and align it with international standards. As referenced in their Strategic Plan 2019-2024, this amendment will lead to the enhancement of the Immigration Service Act 2023. The Gambia Immigration Department contributes to the national revenue in several ways. In this respect, the department collected $91,980,370 in 2020, which increased by about 12% in 2021 to $103,362,940. Revenue collection for 2022 is likely to be higher. We commend them for this achievement. The Gambia Fire and Rescue Service works to safeguard life and property. In this light, the Gambia Fire Service received and responded to 1,128 emergency calls in 2021. Of these, 823 were related to fire incidents and 305 were rescue calls. They rescued 228 persons alive, but there were 29 fatalities. This highlights the need for vigilance in our homes and at sea. The Gambia Prison Act of 1953 Amendment Bill 2022 had cabinet approval prior to its submission to the National Assembly. The enactment of the bill is meant to repeal key colonial legal provisions on prison officers and inmates and institute international standards and best practices. The review of the Drug Control Act 2003 for amendment is at an advanced stage. The new bill incorporates international protocols and treaties, and the ministry will table it here for consideration. In the interim, it is necessary to impress upon the anti-drug agency the need for vigilance to free the nation from drug abuse and trafficking. Department for Strategy, Policy and Delivery, Honorable Speaker. The Department for Strategy, Policy and Delivery, DSPD, under the Office of the President, provide policy support to the sectors and convenes National Economic Council meetings and organizes retreats for permanent secretaries. It also supports the Cabinet Office. The department coordinates the program for Accelerated Community Development PAC, which is a special initiative of the Office of the President. Through this project, government facilitated access to proper infrastructure, safe drinking water, roads, energy, and labor-saving equipment in rural communities. Also, the DSPD collaborates with UNDP, the MDAs, and the regional offices away from Banjul and KMC to implement the project. So far, it has provided water systems for 31 communities in the 5 regions. On electricity supply, 10 communities are now connected to the main grid, with an additional 7 communities targeted on the North Bank. More than 10,000 households in the area will benefit from this intervention. The project will gradually spread to other parts of the country. I am pleased to observe that the food security component of the project provided 19 tractors with accessories and 9 post-harvest processing equipment to 38 communities in the country. This is to support rural farmers, especially women. To ensure sustainability of the project assets and boost revenue generation, this initiative will include capacity building on asset management and revenue generation. Private sector participation is being mobilized to stimulate private sector investment in rural infrastructure, particularly renewable energy assets. My administration, through the Department of Strategy, Policy and Delivery, continue to coordinate the United Nations Peace Building Fund activities in the Gambia to boost peace building efforts in the country. We acknowledge with gratitude the PABF's contributes to the implementation of the National Development Plan. Closely related to this, the Ministry of Interior and the DSPD, working with civil society organizations, continue to play a key role in developing the first ever infrastructure for peace, 14P, the centerpiece of which will be a National Council for Peace and Social Cohesion. Still on coordination, the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs and the DSPD currently coordinate the development of the UN cooperation framework under the guidance of the UN country team. A joint government UN program coordination group is working to ensure that all assistance for the country occurs with our national priorities. The DSPD is now relocated to the Ministry of Public Service, Administrative Reform, Policy Coordination and Delivery for better results. Concluding remarks, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of the National Assembly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as my address shows, ours is a story of success, despite the major hurdles that slowed down my administration's performance and the country's development over the past 5 years. With resounding success, we have reclaimed our rights and freedoms, restored democracy in the country, and rescued our dignity and honor as a nation. We have gone through the transition phase in peace, registering phenomenal successes in various aspects of development, embracing infrastructure development, energy, education, health, agriculture, and transitional justice, amid other achievements. On the world stage, we have imposed our country's visibility, and our partnerships and relations with the world are growing fruitfully. The commissions and other structures we initiated were relevant, necessary, and functionally useful. Looking ahead, following the remarkable 2021 and 2022 elections, we now have a new cabinet of national character, a new legislature of diverse composition, and a revitalized, strengthened, and respectable Gambian judiciary. Our reform institutions and evolving civil service provide sufficient grounds for optimism as we begin the march to 2026. Today, the government respects and listens to the voice of the people. Hence, the multiple energized political parties that continue to make their presence felt. We must note, however, that the Gambia has a hopeful, inspired, but needy population. Therefore, the responsibility lies on all of us to fulfill their aspirations. The first cabinet retreat held in June of this year confirms my government resolve to do this and deliver on our promises, because it was not all rosy during the last 5 years. We know that there are loose ends to tie, gaps to fill, and missing links to fix. The retreat focused on selected themes to address the long-standing challenges facing the country as well as emerging ones. I must observe, however, that we will tackle the thematic areas within the administration's broader and holistic approach to national development. Thus, infrastructure, health, agriculture, digital technology, the economy, and other areas of development will continue to receive due attention. The minority group, women, the youth, and people with disability will attract special focus in the process. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of the National Assembly, my government offers the nation a new socio-political order not tied to social preferences, partisan politics, or any form of extremism. This is a national order purely for patriotic service and development. I plead that we embrace it as a construct that calls for uprightness, sincerity, and diligence. The notion is that the honorable members of this assembly have three functions to perform. That is representation, legislation, and oversight. Your responsibilities certainly go beyond these three. The mantle of leadership cast upon you by virtue of your membership of the national legislature, and the fortune of being a family head or belonging to a family and community. Trust social functions and responsibility upon you to foster peace and cohesion in your communities, consequences, and the nation at large. You have the responsibility to educate your consequences, the opportunity to initiate development projects and programs, and the option to engage government. We are open to dialogue, and I ask that we work together. Aside from being legislators, you have the ambassadorial role of representing the nation at international forums and holding meetings with foreign dignitaries and philanthropists. This creates an opportunities for you to promote national policies and plans and raise funds for national development. The diverse composition of this assembly spells a new era in Gambian politics and a new outlook for the legislature. The people's expectations are high, so you must not allow any party interest to overshadow your tenure and performance. In whatever you do, let the interest of the nation come first. To deliver, it is impressive that you walk along bipartisan lines to fulfill the people's aspirations and safeguard the honor of those who choose you to represent them. As I always emphasize, the opportunities are much greater today, and there is no justification for any citizen to anticipate gloom for the country. May Allah grant us a successful legislative session, full of grace, development, and a lot of opportunities and advancement for the citizens and residents of the Gambia within an environment of sustained peace, stability, and security. I thank everyone, especially our development partners, for their support, and I wish this August Assembly fruitful deliberations. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Honorable members, any seconder? Honorable member for Kantora and Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion. I equally seize the opportunity to thank the side of the minority sides and your humble office for effectively coordinating this SONA Day more professional. I also thank on behalf of my majority membership, and of course, by extension, the leader of the minority and the group for graciously participating in this SONA effectively. So on that note, thank you so much for indulgence.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, it has been moved and seconded that this assembly do consider the motion on the State of the Nation's Address 2022 delivered by His Excellency the President of the Republic. Those in favor, please say aye. Not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. Honorable members, the consideration and debate proper on the motion so tabled will now be adjourned until Monday, 19 September 2022, to give honorable members ample time to digest the said address. But before I adjourn this sitting, please allow me, on behalf of both sides of the August Assembly, and indeed on my own behalf, thank His Excellency the President of the Republic for his well-delivered State of the Nation address. Of course, it is a statutory duty, but you all agree with me that the address deserves commendation for the manner in which it was delivered. The address has outlined the condition of the Gambia, the policies of the government, and the administration of the state. This assembly will therefore in the next few days reflect and debate on the policy statement so well delivered here in this August Assembly. The statement will also give us an opportunity to reflect on the achievements and challenges we face as a nation and the urgent need for national unity, peace and stability to propel the development needs and aspirations of our dear motherland. As the people's representatives, we are charged to do our best to ensure that policies and programs outlined in His Excellency's address are thoroughly scrutinized and debated with due diligence. In the same vein, we are also obliged as honorable members of the National Assembly to support the progressive policies and programs of the government for the betterment of our great country, the Gambia. It is also important for us to have a clear understanding of the government's policies, development programs, and aspirations. This will provide the National Assembly and its various committees with tools necessary to perform its legislative scrutiny and oversight functions. On that note, Your Excellency, I thank you once more for addressing this assembly. In the same vein, I wish to express thanks and gratitude to Your Excellency the Vice President, Your Excellency's former Vice Presidents, my Lord, the Chief Justice and Judges of the Gambia, Honorable former Speakers of the National Assembly, Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Ministers and former Ministers here present, Honorable Members of the National Assembly and former National Assembly members, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, service chiefs, presidential advisors, leaders of political parties, Lord Mayors and regional governors, permanent secretaries, directors, and senior government officials, our dear traditional rulers, district chiefs, our distinguished invited guests, and the press, for gracing the solemn occasion in the calendar of the National Assembly. By extension, on behalf of both sides of the August Assembly, I also wish to register our gratitude to all Gambians for the support and collaboration in our collective drive towards nation building. To my honorable colleagues of the National Assembly, I want to reiterate that nation building is an enormous task, and as a key stakeholder in this process, I pray that our deeds and actions be guided by justice and conscience towards the common good of all. May I also thank Honorable Deputy Speaker, majority and minority leaders of the National Assembly, honorable members, the Office of the Clerk, the Task Force, and all those who in their various ways contributed immensely towards making this day a success. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless and guide us all. Before I put the question, honorable members, may I kindly remind all guests to remain seated to allow His Excellency the President to take leave of the chambers, to be followed by the Vice Presidents and others.
Point of order.
On that note,
point of order, Honorable Speaker.
Can you hear it?
Point of order. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the President for fulfilling his constitutional mandate Under point 24, clause 2, I want to use your humble office. In addition, the Assembly may request the President to attend the sitting of the National Assembly for the discussion of a matter of national importance. I want you to use your office to request to the President to attend our debate, if it is possible with him. As we are trying to promote democracy, first time in our history, for parliamentarians to debate, the President will be present. We will love that, if you can make that request. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. It's unfortunate that was not a point of order.
It's point of order. Point of orders are usually raised on issues or procedures.
Member,
Honorable
a point of order is stated if one is doing something contrary to the standing orders or the Constitution. You are making a suggestion or you are making a comment.
That's no, I'm not making a comment. I'm making a point of order.
Your point, Honorable Member, your point of order is ruled out.
Speaker, Honorable Speaker.
Member, please sit down. Honorable Member, your point of order is ruled out. Please allow me to continue. Honorable members, before I put
Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Member, please sit down.
Honorable Speaker, can you hear from me, please?
No, Honorable Member, please sit down.
No, please, can you hear from me?
Honorable Member, sit down.
No, don't tell me sit down. Tell me kindly sit down.
Honorable Member, sit down.
Kindly sit down.
Sit down. I don't want to repeat it, Honorable Member.
No,
sit down.
You shouldn't be authoritative. Tell me kindly sit down.
Honorable Member,
we are not in a classroom. We are not in a classroom. We are in the Parliament. You are talking to a parliament to a private school chap.
Honorable Member, responsible parliamentarians are guided by rules. Please sit down. Honorable members, as I said, Honorable Speaker, the point of order is ruled out. Before I put the question of honorable members once again, I want to remind all guests to remain seated to allow His Excellency the President to take leave of the chambers to be followed by the Vice President.
Honorable Speaker, I want to move a motion, please.
On that note, honorable members, I will now put the question. Be it resolved,
Honorable Speaker,
that this August Assembly do stand adjourned until Monday, 19 September 2020.
Speaker, I want to move a motion, please.
Those in favor, please say aye. One in favor, please say no.
No.
Honorable members, the President's speech, you'll find it in your pigeonholes. You can collect them before you go. The Assembly now stands adjourned until Monday, 19 September 2022 at 10 a.m. prompt.